Today's decision was a victory for people all over this country whose lives will be more secure because of this law and the Supreme Court's decision to uphold it.
This is a time of choice for the American people. Our mission is clear. If we want to get rid of Obamacare, we're going to have to replace President Obama. My mission is to make sure we do it.
There you have it. Two competing visions for the future of America on this day, a historic day. President Obama's vision is affirmed by the U.S. Supreme Court. Welcome to Mean Street, everyone. I'm Dennis Berman of the Wall Street Journal. Let's get right to the questions at hand. The ruling's been out for a few hours. People have actually had time to read the thing and can have some insight onto what we have in store next. Our next guest, Miss Christina Ho, is a law professor at Rutgers University. Christina, greetings to you.
Greetings, Dennis.
Hi. So you have a few concerns about the law going forward, or perhaps how it will be applied going forward. You think there are a number of unanswered questions. What are those questions?
Well, I think that there are a few unanswered policy questions, and then there are a number of unanswered legal questions. So on the policy questions, today's ruling was a narrowing of our understanding of the Medicaid expansion under the Health Reform Act. And so states now can refuse federal funds to expand Medicaid eligibility to lower income individuals up to 133% of poverty. States who don't want to conduct that expansion can forego federal funds for that expansion, but leave the rest of their Medicaid program untouched.
Right. Now, we saw the court and Justice Roberts in particular strike down some of the language in the law that tied support to funding.
That's right. This is also a significant change on the legal front because it represents the first time that Congress has held, or that the court has held Congress's exercise of the spending clause to be coercive.
Mm-hmm. Now, okay. Can you translate that for the person who's watching? You got a lot of books there. You've gleaned a lot of knowledge. If you were to bring that down to a point that people can understand, how would you describe that?
So if somebody offers you $10 million to take a job, at some point, right, does the amount of money that's at stake become so large and the nature of the job, one that you're not willing to do, such that the offer becomes coercive rather than a voluntary choice.
Right. And so from your perspective, that was the metaphor for how the law treated healthcare funding.
Right. So here, the federal government is offering the states 90% or more funding for coverage of individuals up to 133% of the federal poverty line.
Right.
So the condition of receiving Medicaid funds would be to cover this group of individuals with, as I mentioned, mostly federal funds. Now, states obviously invest a lot of money in their Medicaid programs, and so they felt that having their entire Medicaid budget at stake to accept this new requirement to fund or new requirement to cover individuals up to 133% of poverty was coercive.
Right. Now let's get to the question of taxation. Taxation is a question that's contemplated for centuries in American history, government, the Constitution. What have we learned about how the Supreme Court regards Congress's ability to tax?
So the holding on Congress's taxation authority here didn't depart as radically from precedent as the court's ruling in other aspects of constitutional law. So here the court ruled that Congress doesn't have to call it a tax in the legislation for this to be a proper exercise of Congress's authority under the taxation clause. And that's been held before in the license tax case. So that in and of itself is not as unusual.
Right, but were you surprised at Justice Roberts' I wouldn't call it trickery, but intellectual journey to get to the decision that he got to?
I think that was a surprise for many. all of the lower court decisions on the constitutionality of the individual mandate to this point have rejected the taxation clause authority for Congress to enact the mandate. So this was not anticipated by the majority of observers.
And how did you feel about it?
You know, I think that I believed that Congress had the authority under the taxation clause all along. There had been perhaps strategic decisions made by the administration and the Solicitor General along the way not to emphasize that aspect. But I think that ultimately it is the right conclusion. I, of course, also would have found it to be constitutional under the Commerce Clause.
Right. Okay. So this being a controversial piece of legislation, the Supreme Court is not the last word, Christina. We can expect lots of lawsuits, perhaps a repeal should a Republican president and Congress come to office in November. Where do we go from here?
So you're going to see a number of streams of activity. So leaders in the Republican-controlled House of Representatives have already suggested that they will move to try to repeal the entire law anyway. There are several other lawsuits in the pipeline. It'll be interesting to see if opponents of healthcare reform continue to press forward with those lawsuits. And then you'll see a lot of attention focused on what's happening at the states. The states are on a deadline to get their exchanges up and running. And the Medicaid question profoundly implicates states' choices going forward. So will states choose to conduct the expansion to the low-income population? And there's some question, if they don't, as to what happens to the low-income folks. Under one reading of the law, those who are under 100% of poverty might not be able to participate in receiving subsidies to buy through the exchanges. Are they left in the lurch?